right, this is the Everett City Council Committee on Ways and Means. This is Tuesday, February 16, 2016. We're at 6 p.m. Councilor Della Sola.
Here.
Councilor DePiero.
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
We have 3 members present. We do have a quorum.
Please stand and salute the flag.
All right, the first piece of business is a letter offered by Councilor John Healan as president that the sum of $1,038,988 be transferred and appropriated from the budgetary fund balance into the capital improvement stabilization fund.
On this piece, we have any questions from, yes, Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the city auditor, what are we taking the money from? What are we doing with this order? If you can just explain this to us briefly.
Sure. And my explanation will actually be, will reflect all 3 of the council orders. They're all similar, although they are for different purposes. I'm happy to address each purpose individually. In 2014, as part of the FY14 budget process, the city, through the city council, adopted financial reserve policies. Those financial reserve policies indicated that as soon as free cash has been approved and determined by the Department of Revenue, which is roughly the surplus of the city's general fund operating account after everything has been accounted for, and then the Department of Revenue will certify that amount, which is referred to as free cash. Free cash, once certified by the Department of Revenue, is subject to appropriation as approved by the City Council. Getting back to where I was talking, in fiscal 14, as part of the FY14 budget process, the city adopted financial reserve policies. And as part of those financial reserve policies, upon certification by the Department of Revenue, 20% of free cash is to be appropriated to the city's capital improvement fund, stabilization fund. 15% of certified free cash is to be appropriated to the city's general stabilization fund, and 15% is to be appropriated to the city's OPEB, or other post-employment benefit trust fund.
What was the last percentage?
15. So in total, based on the financial reserve policies, 50% of the certified free cash is to be transferred to these 3 individual savings accounts, if you will, savings funds for the city.
So on this item, on this piece, this reflects 20% of the free cash that is certified as of date to be able to go into CIP. Is that what I'm understanding correctly?
That is correct.
Okay, so sort of just a protocol then to transfer this, because the formula states 50% goes to these 3 accounts. That's all we're basically doing here tonight.
Yes. These percentages are consistent with the financial reserve policy that the city adopted.
How much free cash do we have on hand? Do you know, in the city?
Free cash was certified at $5,194,000.
5,194,000.
As part of the current year's tax rate setting policy, the city council voted to use $1 million of that free cash to offset or reduce the tax levy, which brought the balance down to $4,194,000. In addition to that, the city council also authorized an $831,000 transfer appropriation from free cash to be used to fund the 4-leaf contract, which was which dealt with the permitting process of the Wynn Casino. That money was already received by the city, but because there was no Mass General law in place that allowed us to set those funds aside and fund that contract, it automatically had to go into the general fund as general revenue. So that is why the city actually had to use free cash to fund that appropriation. The funds that we did receive from Wynn that will 100% cover the cost of that contract, deposited into the general fund as unanticipated revenue. At the end of the fiscal year, that will close to free cash, and available for appropriation in the subsequent year.
I have no further questions on the piece, Mr. Chairman.
Council DePiero?
Councilor McLaughlin asked the question I was going to. Thank you.
Mayor, from the chair, what do we have last year for free cash? Do you know, I know it, and
I don't know offhand. I don't know offhand. I would hate to speculate.
so we have 5 million in change, and they'll bring that down to 4 million. Correct? The free cash now, if we approve this right now?
The Department of Revenue certified 5.1 million. The city council already authorized $1 million of that free cash to be used to lower the tax levy. So that brings the balance down to 4.1 million. In addition, the city council also authorized the 843,000. However, the percentages that are included to determine the amounts to be transferred are based on the original $5.1 million as certified by the Department of Revenue.
Council DePiero?
So just from my understanding, all three of these pieces account for 50% of the original free cash amount?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And once placed into these funds cannot be used for any appropriation until approved by city council.
Council McLaughlin?
Mr. Chairman. So the 1,038,000 that we have here tonight before us, is this additional to what the capital improvement plan was for that? So capital improvement plan comes out several months previously to tonight. Is this an additional $1 million that is going into capital improvement upgrades in the budget, capital improvement budget, or is that already accounted for?
Not specifically. The city's in the process of putting together or updating the FY17 CIP plan. The CIP plan that we're going to be proposing will include all of the anticipated capital improvement from an expenditure basis. On top of that, what we'll do as part of that process, we'll also identify revenue sources. One of the potential revenue sources will be from the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund as a funding source. So simply putting this money aside doesn't necessarily mean that just because it goes into the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund, that it's going to automatically be included to be spent from the capital improvement plan itself. It will be a potential funding source once we determine what the total amount of the capital expenditures that we're going to be proposing. Typically, some of the funding sources for capital improvement program are going to be various grants, items funded by the general fund operating account, as well as the capital improvement stabilization fund. The net difference is typically what we're requesting to go out on the open market and bond and procure debt to fund the difference.
Okay, my only question, the only reason I bring that question up was because I didn't know if it was an additional $1 million. Last week at our city council meeting, we talked about the Mount Washington Street wall and the possibility of additional work needing to be done in the Mount Washington Street wall, which all three of my colleagues sitting here know how important that is. So I didn't know if this was additional money that maybe we could go and look at doing additional work to another project that's already earmarked for capital improvement, if this was an additional $1 million that was going in there. That's why I asked the question, but thank you for the answer.
You're welcome.
Any more questions from the council? Favorable action?
Second the motion, favorable action.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Need number 2, please.
Item number 2, this also order by Council John Healan as president, that the sum of $779,241 be transferred and appropriated from budget fund balance to free cash into the stabilization fund.
Favorable action on the order?
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
And that, I'm sorry.
All right. Item number 3, this order by Council John Healan as president, that the sum of $779,241 be transferred and appropriated from the budgetary fund balance free cash into other post-employment benefits liability trust fund.
Favorable action on the order?
Anybody second that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Reconvene in the back, I apologize.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Eric, thank you for tonight. Just for the public.